Quick recap, so what we're going to do now is we're going to trace it over using Solidworks. We start drawing, we start a sketch. Doesn't matter which plane you start with, but I recommend using the front plane, since we're going to use the front of, or actually it's really the right side of the canoe.
Something like that.
So we're using this image, and we should have had open.
Okay, so that's what we're looking for.
Top and
what we're going to do is we're just going to create two wires.
Call it the front view.
We'll do a 1/4 inch diameter of the wires.
And what we're going to do is
linear pattern of them.
Start on the front sketch.
So basically,
we will
what
go
we're gonna do first
insert. Sorry, you guys do add-ins first. So we go to tools,
or we can start
go to add-ins. All the way on the bottom right next to macro.
From the right
select that. You make sure your outer trace is activated.
Plane.
You want that to be activated.
Create
otherwise,
a path of what
you won't be able to use that tool.
wire will be following.
Outer trace, yeah.
So the path will actually be from one side, going down, across the origin, and going back up.
Okay.
We want both sides
and we'll have that option somewhere equal. Now, our next step will be to insert the image. To do that, we go to...
Before I do it, I'm going to make the midpoint and the origin
tools.
coincident.
Sketch tools.
Get a distance.
Go sketch picture.
Maybe a 9-inch. Leave that up for deep basket with a 2.5 inch high
tools. Sketch picture.
Frame.
Now, as we insert it, we're not going to have an actual scale. We didn't actually create any lines.
Basket wires will never have
any reference. So you can only scale up or down. After you trace your edge, so you
corners, so we have to make a radius.
The least important part.
Use the fillet
would be to trace it correctly.
So fill it. We're going to
Which sometimes you can get it nicely, sometimes you can't.
Radius. This changes based on machine you use.
Playing around, you'll see.
And
so we click
the
sketch picture. It brings up
the basket
tab
where
you're
going to bench
window. You want to open up that
bends it into
picture.
90-degree angles.
It should be in your L drive.
So we have something like that. It's all in black, which is good.
230 spring.
It has all the relationships and everything.
And we open it up.
And we just need an object
that
to actually
0,
sweep around with that wire. So our
change
next
that
option will be to design a
as it is.
circle.
We're going to click check mark.
Give it the thickness that we're
There's
looking
two different ways
for.
of doing this. We're
We
going to do
have
it
to
first.
start at a specific point.
So we have
like
this.
one here.
This is we're actually our front view. So what we want to do is create
So we can do that. We can go to
copy
create a
of
link
this,
first.
tracing it over. There's two options you can use. Either you can do lines and arcs, or you can use a spline.
Geometry, plane.
I prefer using splines. I'm going to use a spline.
And I'm going to use one of these points.
Weird shape I want to trace over. Pretty much you're tracing over.
So if we ever change the height,
giving it points,
circle location will change based on just that point right there.
It should be.
Click OK. We start our sketch on that plane.
So we have that. Hope you guys can see that.
And we create that circle at that same point we're looking for. If we can't,
so I unselect that if you like, you can adjust it based on the points.
At that point,
I should have added a center point.
Quick dimension.
It would have helped me adjust it better. If I don't have that, it's alright. You can.
And that's going to be the thickness of the wire. Go thinner.
And then you select the point where you want to insert it. And from there,
do 0.125, half
you can adjust it.
So I have a wire. The next step will actually be to sweep this around.
So it's still not going to be perfect.
To do that, I go to my features
closer
command,
to
sweep boss base. It automatically selects. It's pretty smart.
That's the first part.
Also, it doesn't know what path, so we have
what you want to do is actually it's option for you. So if you actually had a center point,
like it's
you mirror one side to the other, and that way both sides are identical.
At this point,
we actually might do that.
Perfect. Nice.
In the beginning. So.
And do that. The next thing we need to do is actually make copies of it. We're going to use a linear copy. But before we do that,
this into two lines.
We're going to create the other wire that's the cross wire.
And then a straight line.
Cross wire is going to be going the exact.
And this
wire
construction line
will be drawn.
I'm going to trim off so much here that I don't need on this
right
side.
Thing. So we're
I want to make it exactly the same both sides.
No, drawing this on
so
the right
I have
plane.
these lines here. The center line has
right
a mirror
go
line
to
I'm going to use the mirror
normal
command.
to,
Mirror enemies.
and we're going to create
Select
one
these
circle.
3 lines I have here. Use the mirror about,
So
and make sure that copy is active. And we select the center line to copy it over. Now, if it doesn't exactly match
now we're going to take
picture,
that circle
right,
and
as long as
the
it's kind of
bottom line of that,
close to what first drawing. And we created this canoe shape.
So you can see that
I can always go back,
edge, even though a circle
delete this and readjust it. I showed.
and we're going to have a tangent too.
I recommend you playing around with
the other 2 things that we need to make it fully defined
That's right.
is the
Keep it
location.
as it is.
So it's going to
I can leave the picture
4 inches away
place
from the
as is,
center
or I can delete
origin,
it. I usually
and
leave
the
it for
size
now.
will be
Who knows if I
the
need
same,
it.
0.125.
So I'm going to click out check out.
And we have ourselves.
And then I'm going to now start
a
from the
second
top
circle.
view.
Now the only thing
So I'm
that's
gonna go
missing
to
for
the
that
top.
circle is its path.
I'm going to
Which we have
create a
to
sketch.
design. To do that, we
On the
also
top
need a
view.
plane for it.
And we're going to do the same thing
Match with
that we
the
did
circle.
before. We went to tools.
So again, we do our
Sketch
plane
tools.
by going to features,
And sketch
plane.
picture. Pop
This
up
time
in the
it's
same
gonna
window,
be,
same location that
the
you
front
picked up the last
plane, yes,
file.
and in reference to the
And
center
we'll do the
point
same
of the
thing
circle.
again.
Canoe.
It's going to pop it
Create
in.
that plane.
The only issue here
This
is
plane,
I
now we
need
can
to
create a
adjust
sketch on this plane.
so that the top of the canoe matches where
The only
the
thing I'm worried
side,
about is
like a section cut, is drawn. So I want to make this match to here.
so in this plane we have to
So I'm gonna start
design
out by moving
our
it to that spot right there.
path for the circle.
Kind of weird that
So we're going to start from the origin,
it was actually
the center of that
a
circle,
little short, which we can
and we'll
adjust.
go across.
Stretch it out.
and then we're going to go.
So maybe that picture I had turned in from
Same
the
thing on
front
the other
view was a
side.
little bit bigger than the top view.
It's going to go up
That happens.
across
So
a
we
little
have to
bit
take that into
and
consideration.
up the same height as this.
So we have something like that, and
So
we're
what we
going
can
to
do, we can make
So our
it
next
coincident.
option will be to draw a line
We also-
from here
Actually,
up to here.
we don't want to make coincident because we want to make this object
as marked.
optional
Create
folding
a
out.
construction line and mirror it over.
So let's not do
Mirror
that.
all
I'll show you how to do
four
that
sides.
later. So we have the height. It's going to be longer
goes
than this
line.
part because it goes under it.
Try to
Wire.
snap to
Can we make these wires
the
equal?
end point here,
And the
can.
total length will be, make it 8.
or close to it.
Again, we need to use the fillet command.
Back to
We're going to do 0.25.
Alright, we'll snap it on later. So I'm
It's
gonna just create a
same
line
thing on
for
this
now.
side. Yes.
Work with that.
And an extra line. Yep, I did. Delete that.
Like so. Here's the tricky parts. I need to adjust it in a way so this point is going to be attached to that, which means I actually have to change the
Yeah,
planes.
the length. I lost the length.
So right now this is in
And the height.
space, so I have to get out of this sketch. I have to actually move my first sketch. I'm going to move it so that this point is at 0, 0, since that point's at 0, 0 from the top view, like so. And we're going to do the move command. Start point.
And we're going to do the sweep again. This time we have to do the
And
sweep
keyword.
twice because I have the lines on both sides. If they become
Keep
an
that
issue.
one. And I go back to my
Hopefully
second
they're
sketch.
Not.
Select that point to
So we
the
take
origin,
the sweep
and I make
space,
it
we go with the path,
coincident.
which is the bad part about sweeping, it doesn't give
And I
you
can
the
go back to
option
that
of
top
going
view
both
again.
ways.
And play around to make sure
So we have to do it
it's the
twice.
shape I'm looking
And
for.
to do
If I need
it
to, I
twice,
can
we'll
take
need a
the
sketch
image
twice
and move it
of
over.
the circle
I
size.
have to double click to activate the
So I'm going to
image.
do another
In case you
sketch.
guys don't remember how
The
to
sketch is going to
get
be
back to the image.
the
Just double
surface,
click
the
into
face
it.
of that
There's no
cylinder.
editing up.
And we're going to do
other
convert
options.
entities.
So we do that. And you can see it got moved.
Like so.
So I need to adjust.
Problem is I'm
it
missing
to
that
match
sketch
the
that we
canoe
had
shape.
for sweep 2. That's okay. I'm just going to make it unsuppressed. Show. Do a sketch on that same plane. I'm going to convert the entity of this 3 parts. So, like so.
We have that. We traced over the top.
And now I
We
can
have
do
the
sweep
front view
space
trace too.
based
We
on
matched it, so the top is at the origin, just like the front.
edit it a little bit.
Except for I didn't finish
To make sure
doing
that
the top
this
line. I
line
only have one portion of it.
does not go all the way
I'll
across.
just edit it right
like
now.
shown, but
I'm going to
starts
use
from
the center, just like I have the construction line.
center
Create
of
one
the
more
circle.
construction line. From this point here,
And you also need a distance of
that path, and we got to make these.
Now we can do the sweep space.
Oh, that didn't quite work out too well. That's right, I can just adjust it, so shorten it out. If I get a better top view, you guys get a better sense of what it did.
One's
Hiding the center line attached to the center line.
That's what I'm thinking.
Of the front view with where I created a mirror.
There we go.
I'm going to do the same thing. Before I do that,
so I have two main wires that are just going to be polar arrayed.
You can also not only can you move it up and down at these points,
pattern, select
there
the
are
line.
arrows.
If you can't make a line,
you to stretch it
go
out.
to view, temporary axis,
of it,
and select an axis.
So you can play with those. But
you select
be prepared to
body to pattern. Number of times.
Sometimes you won't
distance
get
apart. So we have about 8 that way.
Okay.
Yeah, you do the same with the other side.
Sketching or tracing an image, you're not going to get perfection. So we have that. We need to mirror this. I use mirror and a line because I didn't do it exactly dimensioning. And the mirror plane will be my center line.
But you can always adjust that. The main important part about
designing a basket is for the guys to actually make it.
On the machine,
These images are kind of flat in the way of my design now.
That's an issue.
They're not really helping
right now.
at this point. And maybe you can just show the design.
Select one of them
as it's formed already. To
create
create the actual design of it being flat, what we're going to do is create a configuration of what I have so far. We go to our
The only thing next
configuration manager, create a path. We create a new
configuration
because we loft based on our existing configuration. So this time we're actually going to have to create a plane. I just call it flat. Now preferably create that plane at the center. Explains itself. Give me the actual. So now we have two shape. So like if I had a section right now, I could canoe right in the center. To make one flat, to do that, I will add a form. It takes a little on this point here at the origin. We have to actually go back to our original sketch or path. Matches these two center lines. And we need to adjust reference will be especially these radius. And my second reference will actually be this construction. The problem with the radius is it tells set perpendicular. When we hit it flat, the radius is going to screw it up. It won't work. And we have it. So we need to create an angle first. Exact center point of the canoe based on our two center lines. We have to remove the vertical because we're going to have the horizontal later on. So we can't have the plan we're going to be using to create a sketch of the path of which this, and for the radius, instead of radius, we hit the top both endpoints and the center line. It just gives it a distance of the actual arc. That's what it's like. So we don't have a radius, we just have and we're going to create a length. A spline, or if you want, you can create an arc, which can be converted into flat view. So we have those two. So I'm going to create everything's perfect, except this now we have to do one more thing. To the top point here. This is our original. I'm going to just create a shape which is not flat. I change it to flat. I go back to that same sketch I was just working with. I'm going to keep that. Instead of 90, I'm going to change it. Instead of all configurations, I just go for this one, which is the flat one right now. And I'm going to adjust it to 179.9. I don't want to really do that because we worked hard on it, so it can't do 180. Don't ask me why. In case the loft doesn't work, it might be because of that. So I adjust it where I'm going to go back to that first sketch. 179.9. Take that top portion. Only in the flat. And make it go to construction. For construction. So it's there if I ever need it. Okay. But it's not going to affect my loft. Basically, when you change between default, the fun part, loft. Let's go ahead and make this work. Now it's not working. See if I can. No, that's not the optimal. Okay, so basically what we want to do is loft the surface, not just a regular loft. We want to go to surfaces, surface, and loft. We select the first sketch, which is the front sketch, and then the top sketch. Doesn't matter which order you pick it in. That's our 90. And we're going to use a guide view curves, which is going to be basically that. Folds up. Folds out. And so create a section of the canoe. You do the same thing with the other part. I need to give it a thickness. The other line.
So I'm going to go
I know if
to
you guys don't have to do
Tools,
this.
It's just Insert,
For your own
File Space, Thicken.
understanding.
Select the object surface that I want to thicken.
Again,
It defaults to
to remove the
0.1.
vertical lines, because then it won't let me
Actually, might be
go
over
for
enough
nickel.
based on
I'll
how big
give
this
it a 90
drawing is.
degrees as a reference.
Do very small.
And we want to keep the length of that arc.
No, wait. Okay, switch failed. Check.
Like so.
Something goes wrong.
Keep that. When I go
There
to
we go.
flat view,
That should
we'll
work.
go back to that same sketch.
My computer's gonna
I
touch it.
just did. Change that. Make sure this configuration only. I think that's where I made a mistake before.
Sorry.
It's really
So it did give it a thickness for the
wasn't
strong one.
defined.
Problem is if it thickens itself over itself, it won't work. So if you go too thick, sometimes it just doesn't help. It won't work. But I think we can adjust it now. And it might. So sometimes you have to fix it up for a little bit to make it work. I think it's overlapping here. That's the issue. That point. Anyways, we're gonna mirror it. We're gonna use the front view for our mirror. Select the object or bodies. Usually bodies. If the face features doesn't work, the face don't work, use the bodies. Now I'd have to figure out why it's not working. Okay, so what I was supposed to do is not thicken it first, I'm supposed to mirror it first, then thicken it. Or make that mistake. So, we're going to do mirror. Mirror will be the front plane. The body would be the surface that we have created. And that wasn't
I
thickened.
think we should be okay now.
And then we do the thickened parts.
See if I can
Hopefully
do
it
this.
doesn't crash. Hopefully there's no error. But, who knows? Oh, it worked, perfect. So it actually has a thickness, you can barely see it, but it's there. And it's only thickened one side, so that's going to be an issue. So we have to edit that, select both sides.
Of course, it doesn't work out perfect.
So we have to thicken both sides.
I need to define it completely to make it work, otherwise it's not working. I'm not sure why it's not doing what it's supposed to. I lost the center of the circle.
This might be a little delayed because I'm recording at the same time. Alright, so both have thickness in that. And they overlap. Oh, that's right. It's just the idea of what kind of free form you can make using just copying over sketches, tracing over it. This is one way of doing it. I'll show you another way. But for the second one, I would recommend getting a logo, a car logo, or some really high contrast logo. So black and white, as close as possible.
There we go. Okay, so that's flat, and that's formed. Basically, that's what they need. Otherwise, they won't be able to produce it. So once they have it flat, they can run it through a machine, so it actually makes this happen. Or they put it in the CNC machine, and it cuts out paths for them to put the wires on and press weld where they meet. So they make that grid, and then you give it to the next guy, and the next guy forms it to create the shape. And finally, if you want, you can put a rim around it. Actually, I can't do it because I put one size too high, the other one too low, and I'm not going to go through it. So the way you would do that is you would just draw a circle, and from a top view, you would create a whole square where that would be the path it follows. And that creates that basket.